The American Revolution, also known as the War of Independence, was started in 1765. Since the 1600s, groups from England had been in control of parts of North America known as the 13 Colonies. The British owned this land, yet they were 3,000 miles too far, so there were local leaders representing these colonies. Before the 1760s, the 13 colonies had enough freedom there was no problem with Britain being in charge. Britain at the time of 1764 was at war and was using a lot of money and supplies. This caused the British to take more control over the 13 colonies to help pay off their debt. The British started to put taxes on everyday necessities. Some examples include newspapers and anything that was printed. This was called the Stamp Act of 1765. Because colonists didn't have a representative in government for these taxes, the British had to end the Stamp Act in 1766. Soon after, the British did find a colonist representative, so they could now tax things like tea, paint, paper, and glass. This was called the Townshend Act of 1767. When colonists started to protest the taxes, the British sent soldiers to gain control over the 13 colonies. The British fired off into a crowd, killing 5 and wounding 6. Which is now known as the Boston Massacre of 1770. After this, the Townshend Act was removed, but the tax on tea remained. In 1773, American colonists got on British ships and dumped the cargoes of tea into the water. Colonists did this because Britain was selling it for cheaper than they were, due to a new act. This event was called the Boston Tea Party. Because of this, Britain enforced stricter laws and closed the port of Boston. Colonists named this the Intolerable Act because the laws were so harsh. In 1775, Paul Revere and William Dawes rode to the colonists to warn them the British soldiers were coming. The colonists had a group of fighters known as the Minutemen who would fight at a minute's notice. These Minutemen met the British in a town named Lexington, and after a short fight they moved to another town named Concord. The fight in Lexington and Concord was the start of the Revolutionary War. While this fight was happening, there was a bigger one on Bunker Hill. There were so many casualties on the British side, America claimed victory and took this as encouragement. Many colonists did not want to break away from Britain. They just wanted their complaints to be heard and solved. As time progressed, colonists realized that wasn't going to happen, so separating was going to be in their best interest. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence. With this document, the 13 colonies became the United States of America. The battles of Saratoga were the turning point for the Revolutionary American War. In 1777, in New York, the Continental Army was led to victory by General Horatio Gates. At this time, France joined the war, helping the United States. In 1780, the British, led by General Charles Cornwallis, won battles in South Carolina. But in 1781, American and French forces trapped Cornwallis in Yorktown, Virginia. Cornwallis surrendered, and the fighting was over. The peace treaty was signed on September 3, 1783, in Paris, France. It was called the Treaty of Paris. By signing the treaty, Britain agreed that the United States was an independent country.